Revenge films.
I had always loved my husband, Kevin, but this is a story about a time that I fell in love with him all over again. Kevin was an amazing person that anybody that knows him would agree 10 times over. For example, if I didn't like the way that my husband said something and I got angry with him, how would you feel if you were in my shoes? If I said that to you like that, you wouldn't like that either, would you? Even if I yelled at him, he would remain calm and say,
"Well, I'm sorry. Maybe it wouldn't have bothered me. But if you didn't like it, Jessica, then I'm sorry. I won't do it again."
He was the type of person to be able to apologize like that, so I never became fully angry with him and we rarely got into any fights. Unlike me, who would lose my temper easily, my husband was very easygoing like this, and that's why I fell in love with him and married him. I was really happy in this marriage, but sometimes that easygoing part of him also made me uneasy in some situations. The reason for that uneasiness was because my mother-in-law had been harassing me for a very long time whenever my husband wasn't around, but in a very backhanded way. I came from a very poor family and I wasn't able to go to college, so I got a job straight out of high school. We discussed paying my college tuition fees with a student loan, but it would mean that my parents would have to struggle to pay that as well. I didn't want that to happen, and it was necessary for me to earn money to support them. But that doesn't bother me at all anymore, and I was just happy that I was able to help my parents. I'm always grateful to them for raising me. I think my husband was trying to brag about me when he told his mother about my situation, saying,
"Isn't Jessica amazing? I never would have been able to do that."
I mean, I'm sure he meant no harm, but as soon as my mother-in-law heard that, she came straight over to our house. "I didn't know that you only had a high school degree, Jessica. So you didn't even go to college. Isn't that amazing? You sacrificed your own life for your poor parents," she said to me. I never once thought of it as a sacrifice, and it wasn't like I regretted any of it either. It made me uncomfortable for her to talk about my life like that, as if I should be regretting how I lived my life until then. On another occasion, I was struggling to get something that was higher up in a cabinet. I was only 4'10" and short, and so unfortunately I couldn't reach tall places without having a stool or something to help me. When my mother-in-law saw me reaching up for something, oh my, Jessica, how cute you are. You really are so tiny. That's so adorable. How cute. Aww," she would say that to me. And not only that, but multiple times she would repeat the same thing. She definitely didn't actually think I was cute when I looked at her face. It was obvious that she was making fun of me and laughing at me. My mother-in-law would always act like she was complimenting me when she was in fact making fun of me, so one time I said very clearly to her, "I am very happy for you to compliment me like this, but it actually kind of makes me feel like you're making fun of me, so please stop that." But then she would start to laugh at me even more, and through an evil grin she would say, "Oh dear, but I'm only complimenting you. I'm just saying that I'm jealous of you, that's all." And then she would laugh again, and that would be the end of the conversation. I thought about talking to my husband about it, but Kevin never was the type of person to get angry about anything, so I started to think that maybe I was just overthinking it. Plus, she never was direct about it, so it was difficult to describe, and I wasn't really able to talk to anyone about it. All I could do was grit my teeth and try to tolerate it. Even after that, anytime my husband wasn't around, my mother-in-law would continue to throw compliments at me when in reality she was making fun of me. And that continued day after day. I started to hate myself, thinking that it was my fault, and if only I was more accepting and patient and kind like my husband was, that maybe it wouldn't bother me so much. On that day, my mother-in-law came over once again, and I was dreading having to deal with her and her backhanded compliments again. Right at that time, my husband was about to get in the shower, so he left us in the living room and went to the bathroom. We started to eat dinner when my mother-in-law had a bite. She was overly complimenting it that it was delicious, but then said, "If you can make such delicious meals like this, then you don't need my son, do you?" She said. What did she mean? Then I don't need her son. I was confused thinking about it, but I replied, "What are you saying? Kevin is a much better cook than I am, though." My strategy was to try complimenting my husband in return, but her only response was, "But if you can cook this much, then you don't need him, do you?" I was confused. Even after that, while masking them in compliments to me, it was as though my mother-in-law was trying to tell me to hurry up and get a divorce. She kept repeating that I don't need my husband over and over again. As I was listening to this endlessly, it felt like she was telling me that I was no match for my husband, that I was unworthy of him, and that I couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted her to stop because I had enough already, and I raised my voice. "Please stop!" "Oh dear, but I was only complimenting how delicious your food was. What's the matter?" She was grinning as she said that. And even after that, she continued to repeat that I don't need my husband, and I had reached my limit. Without thinking, I raised my voice again. "Obviously, I need him! I need him! That's why I married him! And I love him! That's why I married him! This has nothing to do with cooking!" As I was yelling, my husband got dressed and came back into the living room. But then his mother turned to him and said, "Oh my, what's the matter? We were just talking about how delicious Jessica's cooking is." But then, in a voice so deep that I had never heard before, my husband said,
"Yeah, I was listening. I heard it all. The whole conversation. Mom, do you have some kind of complaint against Jessica?
He glared at his mother with extremely cold eyes. I had never seen it before, and his mother was thrown off by Kevin's sudden change of face. What? No, not at all. What are you saying? If you were listening, then you should have known that I was just complimenting her.
I told you that I was listening the whole time, didn't I? You weren't complimenting Jessica at all. Whether Jessica could cook well or not, that doesn't even factor into whether I need her or not.
That's not what I meant at all. I was only complimenting her, genuinely.
But to me, it sounded like you had something against Jessica. If that wasn't your intention, then why didn't you stop even though Jessica asked you to stop multiple times?
Because they were compliments. She would be happy to receive them.
Those sure didn't sound like compliments to me, more like sarcasm. If someone asks you to stop something, then you should at least stop. You're an adult. You should know that, right? And plus, judging by that conversation, this isn't the first time you've done this, is it? Have you been saying things like this to Jessica all this time?
Kevin cornered his mother, and she had nothing that she could say in response. She panicked and ran out of the house. Everything was happening so suddenly that all I could do was stand there in silence, and I watched this interaction between my husband and his mother. After that, my husband was back to his usual self, and he said he was going to get into the shower. I was still taken aback, and all I could say in response was sure. I was still at a loss for words. After that, when my husband got out of the shower, he came back into the dining table to have dinner. I was finally able to speak. I was really happy about it, but I never thought that you would get angry like that, especially at your own mother. But then my husband seemed confused from the bottom of his heart.
Why not? If it's about you, Jessica, of course I'd get angry,
he said to me. At that moment, I was so overwhelmed with happiness that I felt like all of the harassment and awful things that my mother-in-law had said to me could all go flying out the window. After that, my husband said,
Does this mean that things like this were happening on a daily basis until now? Behind my back? I definitely don't want that to be the case, so tell me everything. And I'm going to make sure that she definitely never says anything like that to you ever again.
That's what he said to me, so I decided to open up and tell him everything. I also told him why I wasn't able to say anything until now, and why I was just holding it in myself.
That's so silly. You don't need to worry about things like that. I'm the only one that can protect you in this case, Jessica, and I feel stupid for not knowing. I'm sorry, Jessica.
When he said that to me, I felt like he completely healed my heart, and I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that I was glad to be with this person, that I was so lucky to be married to him. After that, Kevin went to his father about the incident, who was the most terrifying person in the family of all. Apparently, my mother-in-law was intensely yelled at and punished by him, especially because my father-in-law had always treated me like his own biological daughter and had been very good to me.
Are you trying to destroy your own son's happiness with your own hands? What do you think you're doing? Don't you dare go anywhere near our son's house ever again! And I'm going to forbid you from having any more contact with Miss Jessica for a while. If you break any of these promises, I'm going to divorce you. Do you understand?
I heard he was yelling at her like he was breathing out firebombs. On the receiving end of that, my mother-in-law broke down in tears. Why should I have to get divorced or something? All I was doing was complimenting her. Apparently she was crying as she said that, but she gained no sympathy from her husband.
That wasn't complimenting her, that was sarcasm! Thinly veiled insults! You of all people should know that! A daughter-in-law that amazing is almost a waste on our son! And when I found out that you were harassing her, do you have any idea how embarrassed I was? How pathetic I felt? If anything, I would be happy to get a divorce from you right now!
I swear I won't go back there anymore, ever again! So please, forgive me, at least enough not to get a divorce! Apparently, she got down on her knees and apologized and begged. My father-in-law said that he wanted his wife to come to our house to get on her knees to apologize directly to me, but that he wanted to prioritize my feelings of not wanting to see her and refrained. But it's true, knowing that she didn't like me, of course. I wouldn't want to see her again, especially after all of that. But thanks to this incident, I was finally freed of my mother-in-law's harassment that she was masking as compliments. I also feel like I was able to get even closer to my husband, and in the end, I truly think it was for the best.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.